Thomas Todd, the youngest son of Richard and Elizabeth Richards Todd, was born on January 23, 1765, in King and Queen County, Virginia. He lost both of his parents at an early age and was raised by a guardian. At the age of 16, Todd served in the Revolutionary War for 6 months and then returned home to attend Liberty Hall in Lexington, Virginia. Upon graduation in 1783, Todd became a tutor at Liberty Hall in exchange for room and board and instruction in the law. In 1784, Todd moved to Danville, Kentucky. At this time, it was still part of Virginia. Todd married Elizabeth Harris in 1788, and they were parents to 5 children. After he was admitted to the Virginia bar in 1788, Todd rode the circuit as a lawyer. He was a clerk to Judge Inez until 1792. Kentucky was seeking statehood, and Todd served as the clerk at 5 conventions held for that purpose. In 1791, before Kentucky's separation from Virginia, Todd was commissioned by Governor Randolph of Virginia to be captain of a company of cavalry in Lincoln County. In May of that year, he was appointed a lieutenant of a troop of cavalry. In June of 1792, soon after the organization of Kentucky, he was commissioned by Governor Shelby to be lieutenant colonel of the militia of Lincoln County. Todd served as secretary of the state legislature when Kentucky was admitted to the Union in 1792, and when the Kentucky Court of Appeals, the state's highest court, was created in 1789, he became a chief clerk. At the time of Kentucky becoming a state, the conflict and uncertainty of land grants and so forth was confusing, and Virginia wanted to make sure Kentucky honored the land given to settlers by Virginia. Todd quickly achieved a statewide reputation for his knowledge of land law. Kentucky's Supreme Court of Appeals was created in 1799, and Todd was appointed chief clerk. A 4th seat was created, and in 1801, Todd was appointed a justice of the Kentucky Court of Appeals by Governor James Garrett. And in 1806, he was elevated to chief justice by Governor Christopher Greenup. His wife, Elizabeth, died in 1801. Judge Todd married Lucy Payne Washington, the widow of Major George Steptoe Washington, a nephew of President Washington, and the youngest sister of Dolly Madison. They had 2 children. After the admission of Kentucky, Tennessee, and Ohio to the Union, a 6th associate justice was added to the Supreme Court of the United States in 1807. On February 28, 1807, President Thomas Jefferson, even though he had never met Todd, nominated Todd to the Supreme Court of the United States. The Senate confirmed the appointment on March 3, 1807. Todd served on the Supreme Court for 18 years. He was the first Supreme Court judge west of the Appalachian Mountains. Politically, Justice Todd was a Jeffersonian, but he followed the constitutional lead of Chief Justice John Marshall, a former Federalist. Under the system then, the Supreme Court justice had to ride the circuit, in addition to sitting in Washington twice a year, except when prevented by illness. Most of Todd's time and energy was spent on the difficult travel to circuit courts in Nashville, Frankfort, and Chillicothe. Todd missed 5 entire court sessions because of personal and health issues. From his appointment in 1807 until his death, Justice Todd did not write a single constitutional opinion. During his 19 years on the court, opinions were delivered in 644 cases. Todd only wrote 14 opinions during his time as a Supreme Court justice. Todd died at his home near Frankfort on February 7, 1826, at the age of 61, and was buried in the Inez family cemetery, but later removed and buried in the state cemetery at Frankfort. United States Supreme Court Justice Thomas Todd was involved in local and state civic affairs. He was a charter member of the Kentucky River Company, the first company formed to promote navigation of Kentucky waterways. He was also the owner of Kentucky Turnpike shares, the first publicly improved highway west of the Appalachian Mountains. I hope you enjoyed learning about Thomas Todd, the first Supreme Court Justice from Kentucky. Don't forget to try out audible.com/kyhistorypod to get a free book of your choosing. Like, subscribe, and share this video and the Kentucky History channel for more Kentucky history content. And if you would like to, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/kyhistorypod. Find us on Twitter and Facebook at kyhistorypod. And don't forget to check out the Land Between the Meadows Kentucky History Podcast for more in-depth history of Kentucky. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.